We're back.
And welcome back to A Dose of Candor with Jay and Lee. And obviously it's Mental Health Awareness Month, so our next topic is ways to say you're fine when you're actually not fine. Right?
Ways to say you're fine when you're not fine. Well, these are 6 things to say when someone asks, how are you? And you're absolutely not fine.
Potato, same thing.
You've heard it both ways, right?
I've heard it both ways.
Well, I like it because it calls it surface acting. So when we're feeling pressured to put on a happy face, that's called surface acting. I didn't realize there was actually a term for it.
I do that.
So, so that's kind of
I did that in school a lot.
Yeah. I mean, with all the drama I have had the last literally like 10 years with my divorce,
Right.
I have definitely done a lot of surface acting because I know that when people ask how I am, I know it's really more of a, oh, hey, hi, how are you?
Yeah.
You know, so I definitely understand that. So I know you were going to start off with the first one there. Yes. What does that say?
It says, hey, thanks for asking. How am I? Right now I'm feeling... So, yeah, that's what that one's titled. So wouldn't that just be... I feel like that's what a lot of people do is like they're joking, like they're using that as humor.
Yeah, I don't think that one's it. Now, I do know one of them does use humor in it because I'm
God.
like, oh yeah, like
that's what you do.
I do. Well, you have to. I've gotten to a point where I'm like, I have to use humor because I mean, some of the stuff is so messed up that you can't make it up.
You seriously can't make up half the stuff that you go through.
So yeah, I think that one is like a subtle way of, you know, letting them know like you're not fine, but like you've got something going on, but like, you know.
I would use it as humor.
Yeah, I feel like this first one is more of a dipping your toes in the water to see how the person reacts, to see if they care to know more and talk, or if it's like a...
Girl, sometimes when you tell me some of the stuff, I like, in my head, I'm laughing. I'm like, there's no way this is happening right now. I'm like, are you serious?
Well, and you know when I text you and I'm like, girl.
Yeah, that's how I always know something's going on. She's like, girl. I'm like, oh, no.
Okay, so let's move on to the second one. So the second one says that someone could say a bit stressed, in fact. So
wait, what?
Yeah. So instead of saying I'm fine, you could say a bit stressed, in fact.
I thought that said something else.
Oh, so they actually say that this is a way to kind of dip your toe into a pool of vulnerability without jumping all the way in. So they say to refrain from divulging sensitive information, but still to share your feelings that you're obviously not fine, but sharing that you are a little stressed. They say that you might also want to use with this technique phrases such as right now, that's a tough question to answer. I've actually said that to people before. I've actually said, you know what, that's a little complicated right now.
I say, that's a good question.
Or the where do I begin? Oh, I've definitely said that before. And then it says to see how they respond. And if you witness curiosity or care, then that's a sign that you're safe to, delve a little bit deeper into the conversation. Obviously, if not, then they really just are passing and they need to go and not to talk anymore. Oh, no. Okay. 3's the dark humor one. That's the one that I was
God.
like, yep. Mm-hmm.
It says, I feel like I'm in a horror movie. I keep trying to turn it off, but it's not working. That's honestly so real.
It is. Well, and the funny thing is someone commented to me one time that they could always tell people that have gone through a lot of trauma because those are the people that tend to use dark humor. And
yeah, because you don't say horror movie. You're like, I feel like I'm in a TV show and it just keeps going.
Right? Yeah, like there's no ending to it. I also call Florida the Twilight Zone. I'm constantly like, I feel like I am in the Twilight Zone.
I mean, like I said, I've been here for 16 years, so...
I like some of the examples they gave into this one though. So this one, so humor, we're still on the
I feel like I need to
humor.
be rebooted.
Yes, yeah. And what, it's funny because like sometimes when you like stutter or stumble over your words, I'm like, are you glitching? But again, like we use it in a joking manner. Like we don't, I feel like that's just, we both use humor
I feel like
a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I think some people would probably get offended, or if people have heard us, they're like, oh my gosh. Cause haven't people even asked you, like even some of the other kids that you went to school with, they're like, do you know her outside of school? Because I can't see you talking to a teacher this way.
Yeah, we definitely like, no, I wouldn't say be mean to each other. We jokingly mess around with each other.
Yeah. Oh, I like this next one though. Houston, we have a problem. I'm exhausted.
Right.
That's a really good one. Okay, so let me move on to my next one. So moving on from using humor, they say you can say, "Can I be honest with you? I'm struggling right now." So by opening with a permission-seeking question, you're giving the other person a cue that you're about to break the social script or the norm, and it invites them to refocus their attention on you and prepare to receive your emotions, increasing the likelihood that they'll be able to respond in a supportive way. So yeah, I think that's a pretty straightforward one right there.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of how I am with you. I'm like, girl, the day I've had.
Mm-hmm.
And I like just tell you about my day, and it's like, yeah.
I do agree with that for sure. All right, I'll let you get to that next one.
What the? It says, I'm feeling both stressed and grateful at the same time. Like, grateful that they've gone through it, basically.
I don't know. I think that's a way for people, like, even though they're stressed with life, to know that things could be worse. So
Yeah.
they're still grateful that things aren't worse.
I feel like that's what you say a lot. You're like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it could be worse.
I do say that a lot, that things could be worse.
And sometimes I'm like, girl, right now it's kind of bad. I can't imagine it getting any worse, though.
I know. So with the rest of yours, it says that studies do show that we often feel different emotions at the same time. I mean, hopefully everybody's already aware of that. Yet we don't often acknowledge that in our conversation. So using this response in particular to normalize the emotional complexity of the situation.
See, I feel like I tell you how many emotions I'm feeling. I'm so like angry, but so upset, but also so sad at the same time.
Right. Yeah, and it's normal. But there's also saying that you can use similar responses to that to celebrate what's going well for you while still acknowledging the bigger challenges that you're having in life. So they say, for example, I'm really excited because I just found out I got the job I wanted, which makes me feel guilty because so many people are struggling right now. Okay.
Yeah.
There's that. Okay, let's move on to the sixth one. So this is the last one. This example is, honestly, there's so much on my mind. I'd love to have a real chat where we both share how we're really doing. Are you up for that? I have done this before with some of my friends. So I'm older. My friends, like, you know, we're kind of all across the country. We're all across the country right now. So I'm in that stage of life where you don't really talk to people every day, all day, every day anymore. So I do still have a handful of friends where it's like we'll reach out like every month or couple months, and it's just because we know we're busy with life.
Yeah.
So there have been times though where one of us is like actively going through something, like either a major surgery or like a crisis or something, and we'll call and it's like, oh, I'm kind of dealing with this right now. I can't really chat, but like let's kind of schedule a time, or like what day and time would be best for you, because yeah, we really do need to catch up.
I remember one day when you and one of your friends had like a long chat, and you were like, girl, that was like the biggest like yap sesh ever.
Yeah, I mean, I know one time I was like on the phone for like 3 hours with one of my friends because we just really needed it. It had been like a good 6 months since we had actually really spoken, like an in-depth conversation,
Yeah.
more than just superficial
Yeah.
chit chat or texting here or there.
See, I do remember there was one day where you were like, girl, I just need a vent sesh. And I was like, and I was just like, what happened? And you're just telling me what happened. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I was like, how does all of that happen to one person in one day?
I know. Well, and you know what I've known, and it's like, what are the odds? It's that I
The
feel
odds
like
are not in your
I
favor.
know I always say that. But I'm like, everything tends to happen at the same time for me. So like
Yeah.
some of my friends, like something will happen one week and then another thing will happen another week. But I mean, all of my stuff happens like the same day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is going on in the universe?
Yeah.
So yeah, but no, so they just say that, you know, to open the door to meaningful conversations, there are different ways to encourage like social engagement and communication and just kind of be conscious or aware of the other person who you're talking to. And I think that kind of goes along with friendship too. So I know we talked about also discussing how to be a better friend, because we came across an article about how to be a better friend. And we thought that would also be a really good topic for mental health awareness, because I think sometimes some people they're not like as empathetic as others, and they don't catch on to feelings as much as others do. And so they don't know how to react in situations.
Yeah.
So I know we talked about that. So did we want to go ahead and dive into how the advice on how to be a better friend?
Sure.
All right. I mean, what's
not gonna lie, I don't know why in some podcast episodes, because we listen to podcasts and I'm like, why do I low-key sound uninterested in some of the like topics? And it's like, I'm not uninterested, and that's what I don't understand is why my voice is like, it seems so uninterested.
I don't know. But you also like complain that you don't sound like you're talking that loudly, and I'm like, project your voice.
Yeah, she tells me to project my voice. I don't know. See, I always thought I'd been a loud talker.
No, definitely not.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so like we've already kind of mentioned, like being a good friend doesn't really come naturally to some people. But what would you think makes a good friend? Like, what's just something you think?
Like something, that's a good question. I think honesty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, honesty is important. I think my big thing is I'm kind of thinking about like love languages here. I'm thinking about like thoughtfulness. Like I kind of
hit my toe.
I kind of feel like if you really care about someone, that you're going to be thoughtful of that person, which kind of goes into the communication that we just talked about, like wanting to know how they're doing in a genuine manner. Not just being like, hey, how are you? And expecting like, oh, good, bye.
Right. I think I even asked you today, so how's your day going?
Yeah. And I was like, uneventful.
I was like, yep, same here.
But anyway, so let's go ahead. There are benefits to having good friendships. They do say it can boost your mental health. So again, that's why we're wanting to talk about this topic in the first place. So some research has shown that a strong sense of community is associated with lower feelings of depression, anxiety, and stress. While a 2022 study focused on friendships between adolescents found that friendship is a potent buffer for stress associated with childhood trauma. So I'm surprised you didn't say that felt targeted. Because you usually say something like that. But strong friendships are associated with positive mental well-being, even in people who faced adversities in their childhood. So let's go ahead and kind of jump into this, because in 2023, the U.S. Surgeon General did publish an advisory on loneliness being an epidemic. That talking about like people feeling disconnected. So
I think I get FOMO so easily.
Yeah, fear of missing out.
Yeah, for the older generation.
For people who don't know what that means.
Yeah, FOMO. Fear of missing out.
So let's look at the 5 practical tips to be a better friend. So that first one is what?
Listen more than you talk.
I think that's a good one.
I don't know I feel like we're 50-50 when it comes to conversations.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we both listen to one another. But I mean, even if we do get sidetracked if something's going on where we are, it's like, wait, what? Hold on.
Right.
Pause. But no, like they do say, like when you're actively listening and you're engaged in your conversation, that's different than just waiting for your turn to talk. Do you ever get a feeling that like when you're conversing with someone that they're not really listening to you?
Yeah.
And then they'll say something and be like, did you even hear a single word I said?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because it's like when me and you talk, it will go from like, oh, like you talking, I'll tell you what I think about what you told me. And then I'll end up talking about something after that conversation's done and you'll put your input on it.
Yeah.
But it's like with some people, it's like I'll sit there and talk about something and then they'll be like, so like, what do you think we're going to do at school tomorrow? It's
like something random. Yeah.
You weren't listening to anything I just said.
And it's frustrating. It's so frustrating. And I do feel like whenever we are excited to share something, but we know the other person's talking about something serious, it's like, okay, well, can we pause that real quick because I want to share this and then we'll go back.
Right.
But I think that kind of goes back to being comfortable enough with, you know, your friend to know that, like, hey, to have that open communication like that.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes we accidentally like go in to talk at the same time too.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I feel like you're the only person I ever do that with.
Oh, really?
We'll both go to talk at the same time and we'll both be like, go ahead. And
no,
it's
wait,
like,
yeah, go ahead.
You're
Yeah.
like, you go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on to the best practice number 2 on how to be a better friend, validate their experiences. So you don't need to fix your friend's problems. Often the best gift you can offer is just a simple validation. So the simple but powerful act of just acknowledging their feelings without minimizing, judging, or offering unsolicited advice. You know what? Yeah, that's our like vent sessions.
Yeah.
That's like okay, look, like I don't need you to try to fix this problem. I just need you to listen and hear me out, understand me. But I feel like we're good at that.
Yeah.
I feel like I have other friends that are good at that too. But yeah, I do feel like some people just listen, but are just like, well, why don't you just do this? Or yeah.
See, because the thing with you is I'll normally ask you for advice on something.
Yeah. Like when I want advice, I'll ask for it. But I do kind of hate it when people give unsolicited advice.
Right? It's like, well, why aren't you just doing this? It's like, I didn't ask for your advice.
Like, no, yeah.
Thanks. Check in regularly. Wait, I feel like I said regularly wrong.
No, you said it right.
I don't know. I feel like I say some words very weird.
I think we all have little accents.
I don't.
But no, so this is saying that you don't need an hour-long conversation to show you care. Just a quick thinking of you, how are you doing text can mean the world. And that's true.
Yeah.
That's really true. I have a friend who they're a pilot, so they're constantly out of the country and they're always on weird schedules. And I know that they feel lonely sometimes and feel disconnected from their world here in the US. So there are times where I will just simply send them a text like that. And they've messaged me back like, oh, thank you. Like, you don't realize how much that meant to me. Just like that simple little message. Did you want to share anything there?
Sorry, I was just thinking of something that you said.
Well,
Anyways.
I know that's like you and your other siblings, right? I mean, you guys don't talk all the time, but like you'll message one another.
Sorry, just thinking. Yeah, I'll just, because obviously we don't live together because those are my siblings on my dad's side. So obviously we don't live together. We don't see each other all the time. Honestly, I don't remember the last time I really seen them. But, like, especially, like, technically, I'm going to say oldest boy, but he's not older than me. He's younger than me. I think he's 14 now.
Okay.
Don't count me on it, because sometimes I'm like, no, you're, like, last year, I was like, no, you're not 13. You're still, like, 11 or 12. He's like, no, I'm 13.
Yeah, I think he's 15 now.
No, he is not 15.
I think he is. We'll look it up after this, but I'm pretty sure he is because I had him in my class, remember? And he was a year older than you thought he was.
He was born in January.
We'll look it up.
14.
I keep hitting my mic on accident.
Yeah,
I don't
know.
What's going on this episode? Like, what?
I have no idea. But no, like, I'll just sit there and check, and I'll be like, hey, like, how are you doing? How's school going? Like, are you okay?
Right.
And then, obviously, he'll tell me everything that's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes even just simple text messages can be great. All right, let's move on to number 4.
Oh, God.
The fourth best practice to being a good friend is to celebrate their wins, even the small ones.
Even though sometimes my wins are a little bit disappointing.
Hey, small thing. Okay, you know what? I've actually been criticized a couple of times throughout the years because people are like, oh, wow, you're easy to please, or like you just love the small things. And I'm like, well, you have to find.
Yeah, they use that. It sounds like they're trying to use that as like a wow, like in a criticizing way.
Right, yeah, like as they say it with a negative connotation, like they say it in like a demeaning negative way, and it's like no.
Versus when I say it's like you're like one of the easiest people to please. All you have to do is do this, and it's like you're happy.
Yeah, and it's like I tell people, I'm like, no, you have to find the silver lining. Like even if something is going
these,
badly,
like, extraordinary like standards for people.
Right. I feel like I'm a very realistic person.
Yeah.
So it's like, no, like, you know, and I try to stay positive and optimistic. So it's funny because people are like, oh, wow, you know, it doesn't take much to make you happy.
Sometimes it makes me so mad, though, when she's trying to stay positive and I'm having such a hard day and I'm telling her about it. And she's like, well, this is going. And I'm like, let me have my moment.
Yeah,
She's always trying to like make it so positive, and sometimes like, no, I don't need the positive right now.
Yeah, that's when you just need the vent session. You just want me to validate your emotions, not give you positive feedback.
But it is when I do tell you, I'm like, I don't need the positivity. You're like, you do switch it.
I'm like, okay, I'm listening.
Right.
But yeah, celebrate their wins. Sometimes it's easier to support a friend through a hard time than it is to show up enthusiastically for their successes. But celebrating your friends' achievements, no matter how big or small, is an important part of being a good friend. So yeah. And then do you want to go on to the last but not least?
Oh my God. This is such a big one. Respect their boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I feel like there's certain people I know who I'm friends with don't really do that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like some people get offended when you set boundaries. And honestly, like to me, if someone gets offended if you set a boundary, that's kind of a toxic trait.
Yeah,
that's a red flag.
That kind of goes with like, I think it was the last episode. It wasn't the last episode. It was the episode before this, I believe, where it's like cut out those toxic parents.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah, because like that's how.
Yeah.
Sperm donor didn't respect my boundaries about anything.
Right. Like once you kind of set some clear boundaries, they just got angry and kind of treated you in a way that you had never really been treated.
Well, yeah, because I was never, until I met you, I was never a person to like I would set boundaries, but I wouldn't go through with them because I would be like, that's my family, or that's my friend, and you'd be like, no, you got to set those boundaries.
Yeah, it doesn't, you know.
And it's like once you set those boundaries, like they get offended that you have boundaries.
Oh yeah. Which is just a toxic trait. I mean, they get mad because they can't push you over anymore and get away with it. Like they can't disrespect you and get away with it.
I mean,
anymore.
I even said to him, I'm like, I'm not a carpet that you can just step on whenever you feel like it.
Right. There's a term for that. Oh gosh.
It's not a doormat.
Yeah, doormat. Yes.
I didn't say carpet. I said doormat. I don't know why I said carpet. I'm not a doormat.
But yeah, so this does say that good friendships are built on trust, and respecting boundaries is a major part of building that trust. So whether your friend needs space or isn't ready to talk or just needs you to listen instead of giving advice, respecting their needs shows that you genuinely care. And you know what? And I'm going to say as a parent, that isn't ready to talk, respecting the boundaries there with my kiddos. I know my kids really appreciate that because there are times where like I want to know what's going on and they're just not ready to talk about it. Like they've got a lot of emotions.
And then when they are, they're like, can we go talk privately?
Yeah, they prefer to talk privately. So they'll
and
be
you're
like,
not one of those parents where it's like, no, like we can talk right here. You're like, yeah, we can go in the room. We can talk by ourselves.
We go into a room, we shut the door. But yeah, so, and you know, a lot of I do know there are a lot of parents out there that are like, no, like, you know, the kid's gonna do what you're gonna tell them. You're the parent, they're the kid. They need to just listen to you and tell you, blah blah blah. No,
which is why
that's a good way to push your kid away.
Yeah, that's why a lot of people don't have relationships with their parents is because their parents don't do that.
And I think that's why now, because it's been, you know, in a lot of social media and even in articles where this generation and the younger generations are like cutting their parents out of their lives and cutting family out of their lives because they're like, no, it doesn't matter if you're my parent or your family, you're toxic, like you know, you're traumatizing, I can't be around you. No, like I'm more peaceful without you. No, I would rather, I'm here to support my kids. I'm never going to tell them, no, I'm the parent and do this because I said so, this and that. No, I respect my kids and their boundaries, and me respecting that shows them how other people also need to respect them.
Yeah.
Because I don't want my kids to ever think that any kind of abuse, whether it's emotional, psychological, physical, is ever okay.
Absolutely not. It is not okay.
So I know a lot of people don't agree with me on that, but I know a lot of people do.
100% agree with you. Well, yeah, because that's something I hated when one of my, I'm gonna say family members, but it's one of my other like siblings. They were like, but that's our dad.
Oh, okay.
It's like they may be our dad, but like they didn't treat me like I was their daughter.
Right. Yeah.
It's like the respect goes both ways.
It does. Yes. Respect does go both ways. I do agree with that. And actually speaking of toxic behaviors.
Oh God.
They do outline some, identifying and avoiding toxic friendship behaviors in here. So the first one is, if your friend is being overly judgmental, passing judgment, even if it's in a subtle way, it can get someone to feel unsafe and you won't trust them as your friend anymore. Making assumptions. So if you have a friend who's making assumptions, and, you know, just saying negative things, you know, like, oh, well, why don't you just do this or blah, 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 or I bet you did that.
Like if nothing ever positive comes out of their mouth.
And then making it about them. So like if they're really not listening to you, but they're hijacking the conversation and everything. And then of course giving unsolicited advice. So unless your friend explicitly asks for your advice, they say to focus on just listening and validating. Which I think we've all been there, you know.
Yeah.
So those are some of the things. Now, they do have a separate section in here on how to support friends with mental health challenges. But it still says that the most helpful friend will listen, validate what their friend is feeling, and help them feel safe in sharing and communicating with them. So wherever possible, refrain from giving advice unless it's specifically asked for.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Kind of going back to that, like, listening to your friends or like not wanting to talk and they're like, yeah, like I'm here when you want to talk. I hate it when you have those friends where it's like, no, like talk to me, and it's like I don't want to talk, and they're like, no, like talk to me, and it's like, well, I already told you I'm not ready to talk.
Yeah, well, and I get that because I know there have been times where, like I shared, my kids will, like, they'll want to tell me something, but they're not ready to talk about it and tell me. And it's so hard because it's like, I want to know because I can tell something's wrong.
Yeah, they just want to process their emotions
first.
And
it is really hard to not want to help, especially if you are like a good friend or a good parent. It's really hard to hold back, but you just have to find that patience within yourself.
Yeah.
But
then it's like when you do talk to them after finally giving in, they do end up making it about themselves. And it's like, well, never mind then.
Yeah. But again, if you have any of these barriers, just communicate openly with your friend if you have had any of these issues, because honestly, open communication and being honest can usually overcome a lot of things. I know sometimes we'll call each other out.
Wait, what?
Like when communicating. So like, for example, if you have any of those barriers, like if your friend's showing any of those toxic traits, but you still like them as a person, you want to keep them as a friend, you don't want to cut them out, like work on that relationship. Say, hey, you are giving me unsolicited advice right now, and all I need you to do is just listen to me. And sometimes the person won't even realize it, and they'll be like, oh my gosh, you're right, like, I'm so sorry. Yeah, here, like, I'm listening, you have my full attention.
Yeah.
So just like, if you are experiencing some of these like barriers or issues, have that open communication. If they really are a good friend and they care about you as much as you care about them, they will want to work on the friendship.
Yeah, because I feel like when we do say something about it, we're not like, really, I was just giving you we're like, okay, I'm listening.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I'm sorry. Like, all right, let's go. But yeah, so, and like this says, like, good friends will be willing to listen and be present and stay curious about your well-being. So it's a good way to build a solid friendship.
I feel like that's how kind of the middle of our conversations go. I'm just like, so how you been doing, or how's your day been going?
Yeah. And
then you'll tell me about it. I'm like, oh my God. Because sometimes it really is like, wow.
I know. Like, it is.
Because that's what makes me feel so grateful about how my life is. I'm like, yeah, I can't imagine going through all of that at once.
Yeah, it's been a journey. The last probably 10 to 12 years of my life has definitely been a journey. And you know, I will say this though. When I was a teacher, sharing some of those experiences, I know some of the kids would use it against me and be like, oh, this is why you're divorced. But some kids actually asked me for advice.
Yeah.
And they liked the fact that, hold on.
I was going to say, do you need a drink?
Got really dry.
I know, I could tell you're like.
I'm like, excuse me. But yeah, I got like, there's actually like a little tickle in my throat right now. But a lot of the kids, kind of shared those experiences, and you know, I was able to get them to even talk to the counselor, so that's a good thing too. But
I would not want to talk to the counselor every single time she told me to go and talk to the counselor. I was like, no.
I know. But all right, well, I think that wraps up this segment for us. So we will go ahead and let you guys go. Feel free to check out our website at adocpodcast.com, as well as our
social media. We're on Instagram and TikTok, ADOC Podcast.
And now we are going to be releasing our episodes Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 5 a.m.
That may seem early.
Yes.
But